The story begins with a boy named Park, who was shifting his house, and his friend Kyung was also there, helping him carry his belongings inside. When Park came out to get more stuff, Kyung began tossing boxes toward him. Park managed to catch two of them, and as Kyung threw the third one, another friend of Park named Kim caught it for him. While Kyung threw one of the boxes, it fell and some of the belongings inside scattered on the road. Park got angry and started picking everything up. As Kyung took the remaining stuff inside, Park stayed behind to gather the scattered belongings. While doing so, he came across a drawing that he himself had made, although he could not recall when he had drawn it. Just as he was looking at the drawing, a girl appeared in front of him. The moment Park saw her, he froze in place, because she was extremely beautiful. Park instantly fell in love with her at first sight. That was when he realized he was standing in the middle of the road, so he moved aside and the girl walked away. The next morning, Park was still sleeping when he received a call from Kyung, who scolded him for being late on the first day of school. Upon hearing that, Park quickly woke up and shouted at his mom for not waking him. That was when he remembered that he no longer lived with his parents. He hurried to get ready and ran to the bus stop. At the bus stop, Kyung was already waiting. Just then the bus arrived, and Park came running. Kyung saw him and requested the driver to wait for a moment. When Park reached the bus, he realized he had forgotten to bring his wallet. He asked Kyung to pay for his fare, but Kyung's card had no balance either. Park didn't even have any cash. He pleaded with the driver to let him ride for free, promising to pay double the next day. The driver refused, saying he had no guarantee Park would pay, and pointed out that someone was waiting behind Park. When Park turned around, he saw the same girl from the previous day standing there. Her name was Ruby, and she paid Park's fare. Then, he stood beside Kyung and remarked on how pretty she was. He also mentioned that he saw her the day before while carrying stuff into the house and felt like their meeting was fated. As the bus started moving, Park almost lost balance, but Kyung held him. However, while trying to steady himself, Park accidentally grabbed Ruby's collar. When he realized what he had done, he apologized profusely and felt extremely embarrassed. Kyung couldn't stop laughing at the scene. Later, at school, Park and Kim were in the same class, while Kyung was in a different one. When the period ended, Kim and Park went to meet Kyung in his class, where Kyung was asleep. Kim sat in front of him and burped, waking Kyung up because of the smell. Another friend of theirs, Min, who was in the same class, asked them why they had come when they had their own class. As the four of them were chatting, Park noticed that Ruby was in the same class and was looking directly at him. He felt even more embarrassed and rushed out. Ruby was sitting with two of her friends, Aram and Minji. When Park's friends learned what had happened in the bus, they all burst out laughing. Min teased him, saying he had done a legendary thing on the very first day. Park asked them not to talk nonsense and insisted it was just an accident. Kyung asked whether he thought Ruby felt the same way. That was when Park finally learned Ruby's name. He scolded Kyung for not telling him earlier that she was in his class. Kyung said he had been busy sleeping. Park told them how angry Ruby had looked at him during class, and then asked whether they truly didn't believe that their meeting was fate. He pointed out how they had kept crossing paths over the last 2 days, and how she had even paid his bus fare. He wondered aloud whether grabbing someone's collar could also be a sign of destiny. His friends began mocking him. Park urged them to listen, saying that romance between a boy and a girl always began because of some accident. He looked very happy while saying all this. Kyung told him to stop talking nonsense and said he didn't understand how Park could fall in love after seeing someone just once or twice. Park simply replied that it was destiny. Later, when Park and Kyung were walking around after school, Park spotted Ruby and started following her. He found out which building she lived in, and it turned out to be near his own house. Park declared that their homes being close was another sign of destiny. Kyung sarcastically pointed out that his own house was right across from hers and that she was in his class too. So should he consider their meeting destiny as well? Park responded that if he saw Ruby at sharp 8 at the bus stop the next morning, that would confirm destiny and Kyung would have to accept it. The next morning, Ruby arrived at the bus stop and Kyung and Park were already there. Park excitedly claimed that it was fate, since they met again. Kyung asked him not to talk rubbish, saying they had been standing there for half an hour already and were now running late for school because of him. Park proposed another test, that if Ruby bought the same drink as him at school, that would be the final proof of destiny. At school, Park was sitting with a drink when Ruby came to buy one, but she chose a different drink, making Kyung laugh. Park still insisted it was destiny, since at least both drinks were from the same company. Kyung told him to stop talking nonsense unless he wanted to get beaten up. Just then Kim appeared with the exact same drink as Park's, which made Kyung laugh even more. After school, when Park and Kyung were standing at the gate, Park said that if Ruby came out wearing a skirt, it would be another sign of destiny. Kyung mocked him, saying he might as well say that if she was breathing it meant she was his destiny. Eventually Ruby came out, but she wasn't wearing a skirt, which made Park a little upset. At that moment Kim arrived, and he had tied his tracksuit in such a way that it looked like a skirt. Jung burst out laughing and told Park that instead of dating Ruby he should consider dating Kim, since maybe he was Park's true destiny. Park got angry and asked what he had ever done to deserve this. Kim, however, was completely clueless about why Park was reacting that way. Later the three of them went to play games, but Park was so distracted that he couldn't focus, causing them to lose. He became quite upset. Kyung told him to stop going on about destiny and just go talk to Ruby if he really liked her. Park said his first impression had already been ruined, so how could he talk to her? Besides, he didn't even have a reason to approach her. Chang reminded him that she had paid his bus fare, and that could be the reason to start a conversation. Park admitted he had forgotten about that, and said Krung was right, and he would go right then. Kyung asked whether Park even knew which building she lived in, let alone her exact address. Realizing he didn't, Park sat back down. But the next day, when they were at the bus stop again, Park looked extremely nervous. Kyung teased him, reminding him that he had claimed it would be easy the day before. Park explained that the reason he was nervous was because Kyung was standing next to him. That was why, from the next day onward, Kyung should go to school without him. Kyung agreed and began to walk off, but Park stopped him. The following day, Park got ready for school early and stood waiting for Ruby. When she arrived, he tried to talk to her, but he couldn't manage to say a word. The next day, Park was once again following Ruby, though he didn't have the courage to talk to her. Ruby sensed someone was trailing her, but every time she turned around, she saw no one because Park kept hiding. On the third day the same thing happened again. This time, Ruby was certain someone was behind her. When she turned back, Park quickly jumped into an alley out of fear. At school, Kyung sat next to Ruby and asked if Kyung set her up with a girl. Ruby refused, and advised him not to be hasty. Minji, who was nearby, joined in and told Kyung to set her up instead. Kyung replied that he couldn't do that. At that point Ruby mentioned that a boy was stalking her. Kyung asked whether she had seen his face. Ruby said she hadn't. But she noticed he had a bowl haircut, wore a red tracksuit that day, and was of average height. Upon hearing this, Kyung immediately realized who it was. He went to Park and told him that Ruby was talking about a stalker who had been following her every morning. Park became angry and asked who the jerk was, saying he would break his bones. He added that he himself followed her every day and never saw any stalker. Kyung called him an idiot and told him that Ruby was referring to him. She knew about the hairstyle, his outfit that day, and his height. At that very moment Min walked in. He had the same haircut and height as Park. He tried to give his track to Min, but Minji looked at Park and shouted that he must be the stalker Ruby was talking about. Park tried to explain that it was a misunderstanding, that he wasn't a stalker and just followed her. Park insisted he had his reasons and simply wanted to return the bus fare money she once paid for him, but he couldn't bring himself to speak to her directly. Minji said she didn't believe that explanation and guessed that Park actually liked Ruby. Park denied it. Minji commented that he would never be able to tell Ruby anyway, so he should just give up. Park angrily asked why. Minji said it was because Ruby didn't like guys like him. Park asked what kind of guys Ruby liked. Minji responded that even she didn't know because Ruby never had a boyfriend, but she was certain Ruby wouldn't like someone like Park. Just then Min turned to Park and asked whether giving him the tracksuit was part of a grand plan to make him look like the stalker. He cursed at Park and took the tracksuit back, saying he wouldn't return it. Kyung told Park that he hoped at least now he would talk to Ruby the next day. The following day, when Ruby was heading to school, Park began following her again. This time Ruby noticed and started running. Park chased after her but tripped at a turning. He tried to escape, but Ruby caught him and asked who he was and why he had been following her. Park nervously explained that he only wanted to return the bus fare money she once paid for him. He also reminded her of the day he had accidentally grabbed her collar. Ruby said she now remembered, but she didn't think it was necessary to return the money. Park still handed her the money. He then introduced himself and asked her name. Ruby told him her name. Park mentioned that he lived nearby as well, and asked if they could be friends. Ruby agreed, which made Park very happy. A flashback then showed what had happened 5 days earlier, when Park had written his feelings for Ruby on the money he planned to return to her. Back in the present, Park boarded a bus and saw Ruby using that same money to pay her bus fare, not even noticing the note written on it. Park felt crushed because she didn't read what he had written. The next day, Park got ready for school and thought it was better that Ruby didn't read the letter because it was too soon to confess. While Ruby was heading to school with Kyung and Park, Kyung tried to distract her, while he and Park kept switching sides, trying to execute some secret plan. When they reached the bus stop, Park asked Ruby for her number. She agreed, and when she reached for his phone, he deliberately dropped it. As she bent down to pick it up, Park secretly placed candies in front of her and wished her a happy candy day. Earlier, he had also placed candies in her bag while they were walking, and he and Kyung were switching positions. Ruby didn't seem pleased at all. She returned his phone without giving her number and walked away. Park asked her why she didn't give her number, but the bus arrived and she got on. Kyung told him that he had warned him that the plan was stupid. At school, Ruby told her friends what Park had done. Minji said she already knew something like this would happen. Poor Park didn't even know that Ruby didn't like sweets at all. Ruby asked Minji how she knew Park. Minji nearly got caught but quickly covered it up. She told Park that Ruby was in a bad mood because of him. Park said not to worry, he would confess his feelings soon. Admin said this wasn't the right time because Ruby didn't want a boyfriend right now. When Park asked why, Minji was about to say something but stopped herself and said she didn't know. All she knew was that from today, Ruby was going to start ignoring him. Just then, Ruby arrived to buy a drink, so Minji quickly hid. Park tried to talk to Ruby but she didn't say anything and walked away. The next morning when Ruby was on her way to school, she found Park already waiting. He told her he had been standing there since morning. Park silently gestured that he liked her. Ruby responded with a gesture that meant she would kick him. Once again, Park asked for her number. She refused and walked off. All day at school, Park followed her around with a guitar, singing to her. Ruby eventually got so annoyed that she broke his guitar. Park faked a hand injury. Concerned, Ruby asked if he was okay and told him to show his hand. Park held out his hand and written on it were the words asking for her number. Ruby walked away and told Kyung to give her number to Park. Park quickly said not to do it. Kyung argued that whether she gave it or he did, it was the same thing. Park said it wasn't the same. Kyung then realized that no matter how hard Park tried, Ruby would never give her number directly to him. So even though Park protested, Kyung sent her number to him. He told Park to do whatever he wanted with it. Save it or delete it. Park became furious at Kyung because he had really wanted Ruby to give the number herself. Later, Park and Ruby bumped into each other again. Just as Park was about to speak, Ruby told him not to talk to her. Park gestured again, asking her to be his girlfriend. Ruby got angry and walked away, leaving Park feeling heartbroken. After school, Park sat alone in his classroom while it poured outside. Kyung entered and mentioned that Ruby forgot her umbrella, and since Ruby didn't have an umbrella, Park could offer to walk her home. Just then, Kim and Min entered too. Park asked Kyung to give him his umbrella. Kyung pointed out that one of Ruby's friends might already have one. Hearing that, Park once again felt disappointed. Kyung told him that since it was his idea, he should think of a solution now. Meanwhile, Ruby panicked, wondering how she would get home. Minji said she would take her, but when Minji checked her bag, she realized her umbrella was missing. She wondered where it had gone. Aram also discovered her umbrella was gone and became annoyed. As the three girls stood outside wondering what to do, Park arrived with an umbrella and tried to ask Ruby if she wanted to share it with him. Park told Ruby to take his umbrella, otherwise she would catch a cold, but Ruby refused, which made Park extremely angry. In frustration, he closed the umbrella and threw it in front of her, saying that he understood what she meant. He told her to go home with the umbrella and promised not to bother her again. As he turned to leave, Ruby picked up the umbrella and threw it back at him, saying she didn't want his umbrella either. Park didn't pick it up and instead followed her all the way to her building. At the building entrance, Ruby asked Park why he was still there and whether he didn't want to go home. Park replied that he was just staying there to avoid the rain because his umbrella was broken. The keypad of the building wasn't working and a keycard was required to enter, which Ruby didn't have because she lost it on the way. She had to wait outside for her sister, who was taking a long time to return from school. Ruby was completely drenched and started shivering. Her phone battery also died. Park suggested she come to his house to warm up and charge her phone. Ruby looked at him in shock and asked if he was crazy. She couldn't understand why she should go to his place. Park explained that he was only suggesting it because she might catch a cold. Ruby refused, said he was annoying and told him to leave. Park got slightly angry and replied that he was leaving, and whether she got sick or not wasn't his concern anymore. While he walked away, Ruby stood outside, scared and freezing. Park came back, gave her his jacket and a towel and said he was worried she would fall sick if she stayed like that. Ruby asked him if he wasn't cold. She stood there thinking for a moment, then agreed to go to his house. Just then a lady walked out of the building and the door opened. Park stopped it from closing and told Ruby to go in. She was surprised again, but walked in. As Park turned to leave, Ruby pulled him inside and asked him to wait with her for a while. She went to her apartment and brought a hoodie for Park to wear. He put it on, and Ruby said she would wash and return it. Then she gave him the umbrella and warned him not to catch a cold or she would kill him. Park was very happy. He was about to leave when Ruby's sister arrived and saw him. When she got home, she asked Ruby if that boy was her friend. Ruby acted indifferent, but her sister asked again, shocked that Ruby gave her hoodie to him. She scolded Ruby angrily. Later that night, Ruby woke up thirsty and went to the kitchen. When she opened the fridge, she imagined Park standing inside it and got scared. Then she went to watch TV but again saw Park in every scene. She turned off the TV and tried to sleep, but Park appeared in her dreams too. Ruby was truly disturbed now. Next morning, Ruby was on her way to school with her friends, and they were talking about what to wear for the upcoming retreat. Minji asked Ruby if she saw Park in her dreams. Park suddenly appeared and greeted everyone. He told Ruby that he saw her in his dreams and asked if she was curious to know what happened. Ruby told him she wasn't interested in his dreams. Park replied that it was fine, but he was happy to see her in his dream. They talked for a bit. In class, Minji asked Ruby if something happened between her and Park during the rain. Ruby denied it. Minji said it looked like something changed between them. Ruby asked why they were saying that. Aram pointed out that just a few days ago, Ruby used to ignore Park, but now she was actually responding to him. Ruby got irritated and asked why they were trying to set her up with Park. Minji said it was because she looked happy with him and was treating him well. Ruby snapped and said Park was a good guy, so why should she not treat him well? Aram teasingly asked if that meant there was still a chance she could date him. At that moment, Kyung interrupted by pretending to be asleep, but he had heard the entire conversation. The three girls realized this and Kyung quietly left the classroom. Later, Park was practicing with Kim when Kyung showed up and asked what they were doing. Min explained that they were preparing for the talent show where only 3 member groups were allowed to perform. Park wanted to use this performance to impress Ruby. He asked Kyung to join their group, but Kyung refused. Park emotionally blackmailed him, asking if he wasn't his friend, and eventually convinced him. That night, Ruby was chatting with Minji, who asked what she would wear for the retreat. Ruby said she hadn't decided yet. She went to check her wardrobe and saw Park's jacket, which she had kept. She thought of returning it but worried Park might misunderstand and assume she had feelings for him, or that he might propose. So instead she gave the address to her sister and asked her to return the jacket. At Park's house, he and his friends were practicing. Park told them that he planned to confess his feelings to Ruby during the talent show. His friends told him not to rush things. But Park insisted that something had changed between them during that rainy day. Kong then said he didn't want to tell Park earlier, but now he felt he should. He revealed that Ruby had told her friends in class that she had 0 feelings for Park. Park felt upset, but said he didn't believe it. He thought Ruby was just hiding her feelings. Kyun was amazed at his optimism. Suddenly, Park got a message from Ruby saying she was outside his house. He got excited and told his friends. But when he went outside, he saw that it wasn't Ruby but her sister returning the jacket. Park felt disappointed. He also found out that the hoodie Ruby gave him belonged to her sister, which upset him further. When he came back inside, his friends had already figured out what happened and began teasing him. Park returned the hoodie and Ruby's sister left. When she got home, she asked Ruby if Park was really just a friend. She said it was clear Park liked her. But she didn't think Ruby would ever date him, and she felt bad for him. The next day, all the students left for the retreat. Park gave Ruby some peanuts for the bus ride and she accepted them. At the retreat, Ruby told Minji that she forgot her face wash. Minji offered hers, but Ruby said her skin was very sensitive and she couldn't use any other brand. Later, when everyone settled into their rooms, the teacher said they would do another head count. Aram explained it was because one student was missing, probably Park, since Kyung had been asking about him. When they gathered for lunch, Kyung asked if anyone knew where Park went, but no one knew. He kept calling Park but his phone wasn't reachable. Ruby was also worried. Shortly after, Park returned, escorted by the garden staff. Ruby felt relieved. Since Park went out without permission, The teacher scolded him and gave him a punishment. Later, when Ruby returned to her room, her roommate gave her a face wash, saying the boy with the bowl haircut sent it for her. After finishing his punishment, Park was in pain. Ruby came to him with a drink and told him not to do anything like this again, because she doesn't like it. She asked if he had eaten, to which Park lied and said he hadn't, even though rice was stuck on his face. Ruby noticed it and gently wiped it off and walked away from Park once again, and by doing that his happiness doubled. While washing her face, Ruby smiled while thinking about Park. The next day, all the students were made to do a lot of exercises, but Park seemed to be enjoying it thoroughly. While doing exercises, he even practiced a few dance steps. After lunch, while everyone was resting, Park walked in with rice stuck to his face. Kim noticed it and wiped it off, which made Park furious. Grabbing Kim by the collar, he questioned how she dared to remove it and asked why she interfered. Kim, confused, asked him what was wrong and why he was getting so angry. Without saying much, Park took some rice out of his pocket and stuck it back on his face before leaving. Ruby was sitting with her friends when Park came and asked her to remove the rice from his face. Ruby held his head gently and Aram wiped it off with her kick. Later, all the students were participating in a camp activity where they had to cross a water stream. Young followed behind Minji and started troubling her. She almost slipped and fell into the water, but Kyung quickly held her hand. This made Minji's heartbeat speed up. Just then, Aram arrived and angrily slapped Kyung hard, causing him to fall into the water. Because of the slap, Kyung got injured. Park became very worried because Kyung was supposed to perform with him in the talent show that night, which now seemed impossible. So Park decided to have Min replace Kyung and made him practice intensely since the talent show was only a few hours away. That night, the talent show began and many students had participated. One by one, all the participants began performing. The audience was full of students who had come to cheer. Min and Kim were both very nervous. Min, in fact, was so nervous that he said he wouldn't be able to perform. At that moment, Kyung appeared and calmly told Min that he would perform in his place. Park reminded him that he was injured and asked how he would manage. Kyung confidently said it would only take 2 minutes and he would be fine. When their turn to perform came, they walked on stage, surprising Ruby, who had no idea they were going to perform. As soon as they started dancing, the entire crowd began cheering because the performance was so good. Ruby was amazed to see Park dance so well since she had no idea he could dance like that. After their dance performance ended, Park sang a song through which he indirectly confessed his feelings. When the performance ended, the announcer commented that it was obvious the song was meant for a girl sitting in the audience. He asked that girl to come up on stage. Though Ruby didn't want to, her friends pushed her onto the stage. He asked Ruby how long she had been dating her boyfriend. Ruby replied that he wasn't her boyfriend. The announcer then asked what kind of relationship they had. Taking the mic from him, Park gently placed Ruby's hand in his own and said that this meant today was the first day of their relationship. The crowd began chanting for them to hug each other. Park walked up to Ruby and asked if she'd allow it. Then, without actually touching her, he hugged her, which made all the students laugh. Ruby felt extremely embarrassed and didn't like what Park had done at all. She got angry and walked away, leaving Park very sad. The retreat ended and all the students were preparing to return. Everyone was taking lots of pictures together. Minji asked Kyung about his legs, to which he asked why she was concerned. Minji said that since he danced the previous night, she was worried that his injury might have worsened. Kyung asked why she cared so much. Did she like him? Minji denied it and told him not to talk nonsense. Because of what happened the previous night, Ruby's mood hadn't improved. Other students whispered about her, saying she was the same girl who rejected a guy's feelings in front of everyone. These comments worsened her mood even more. As she was about to board the bus, Park came to offer her a drink, but she refused. Several days passed. Park was sitting in the canteen with his friends, visibly upset. He shared that since returning from the retreat, Ruby had not spoken to him. Whenever he tried approaching her, she ignored him and walked away. Park asked his friends if they thought what he did during the talent show was wrong. Tim replied that he didn't think so. Min added that while Park was performing the song for Ruby, it looked like she would not have refused if he had asked her out. They also pointed out that Park's silly attempt at hugging ruined everything. Meanwhile, Ruby was sitting with her friends, including a classmate named Hari. Harry told Ruby to stop pretending that she didn't like Park. She said that she had seen how lovingly Ruby had wiped the rice off Park's face during the retreat. Hearing this shocked Ruby's friends. They said she probably shouldn't have done that. Park must have misunderstood. Park was passing by and overheard this conversation from outside the room. He stood by the door and listened. Ruby's friends asked her why, if she didn't like Park, she was being so nice to him. Why hadn't she clearly rejected him? Ruby said it was because she felt too old for him. Hearing this, Park was devastated. Just then, Arem opened the door to leave and saw Park standing there. Park pretended like he didn't hear anything and quickly walked away. Later, during class, Park was unable to focus. In his mind, he thought he finally understood everything, as why she paid his bus fare, why she gave him the hoodie that rainy day, and why she removed the rice from his face. She did all of it out of pity. He was unable to pay attention in class. The teacher told him to stand at the back. Park asked the teacher if he too pitied him, which was why he gave such a light punishment. This made the teacher angry and he gave Park a real punishment, which Park completed with much difficulty. After school, Ruby was walking with her friends when she saw Park walking away without speaking to them, which was very unusual. He had never left without talking to her before. They guessed that Park probably heard Ruby say she felt too old for him. That's why he was behaving like this now. Aram asked Ruby what she was going to do about it because she seemed to have hurt his feelings, but Ruby said nothing and walked away. That night, Ruby went to a store to buy some stuff and unexpectedly ran into Park. She tried to talk to him, but Park told her he didn't want to talk and asked her to stop pitying him from that day onward. When Ruby returned home, her sister informed her that the performance Park had done at the retreat was recorded and uploaded to YouTube by someone. The video was going viral quickly. This deeply disturbed Ruby. She messaged her friends to tell them about it. Her friends said that whoever uploaded the video was definitely someone from their school, and that they would find out who it was so they could request him to take it down. The next day, Park was sitting in his class when a girl named Nish came up to him. She told him that she saw him on YouTube and said that he was quite a good gate, though Park didn't understand what she meant by that. She asked him for his phone, and when he asked why, she told him her phone was lost and asked if she could use his. Park handed her the phone, unaware that her phone was not actually lost. She used his phone to call her own number and saved her contact in it. Just then, Kyung entered the class and greeted Park, who asked him if he greeted him out of pity. Kim didn't understand what Park was trying to say. Later, when Park was in the canteen getting lunch, the lady serving food gave him a slightly larger portion. Park asked her if she too pitied him, which shocked Kim and made him wonder what was wrong with Park. Back in class, Min came to return Park's notes. Park said Min must be returning them out of sympathy. Min replied if he is high, since those were Park's own notes. Park responded by asking why Min was looking at him with such pity. Kyung then came and told Park that someone uploaded a video of him on YouTube, and Ruby went to talk to that kid to get it removed. Kyung asked Park if he would go too since he was also in the video, but Park replied that there was no point, as he considered himself a pathetic guy who couldn't do anything. Kyung reminded Park that he once fetched Ruby's face wash without her permission. Park said that was a different matter, and now he realized that Ruby only felt pity for him. Park continued to call himself a pathetic guy again and again, which made Kim lose his temper. Kim shouted at him to stop saying that, saying it was messing with his head. As they all got up to leave, Park said they were leaving him because he was pathetic. Kyung angrily said that Park would never improve. Meanwhile, Ruby and her friends went to meet the boy who uploaded the video. Ruby requested him to delete the video from YouTube, but the boy bluntly refused. Ruby warned him that if he didn't remove the video, she would report it to YouTube and ask them to delete not just the video, but his entire channel. The boy got scared and agreed to delete it. After school, while the boy was walking home, Park approached him and asked again if he would delete the video. The boy said yes. Park then asked if he was doing it because he felt sorry for him, which confused the boy. Later, Ruby and her friends were at a restaurant and Ruby looked upset. They found out the boy deleted the video. The next morning, Kyung was repeatedly calling Park, but Park wasn't answering. Kyung called Ruby and asked if she saw Park. He told her that since the previous day, Park had been acting strangely and was not answering his calls, and he was genuinely worried. Since Ruby's house was nearby, he asked if she could go check on him, but Ruby refused. Still, his words stayed with her and made her concerned. Ruby decided to check on Park. When Park stepped out to go to the store and saw Ruby coming toward him, he tried to run away, but Ruby chased him and caught him. She asked why he was running away from her. Park asked why she was following him and why she couldn't leave a pathetic guy like him alone. Ruby got angry and told him to stop saying nonsense. She insisted she didn't pity him and that he wasn't pathetic. When Park felt hungry, Ruby took him to a restaurant and ordered food for him. When Park didn't eat, Ruby said that feeding him didn't mean she pitied him, and he should think of it as repayment for when he brought her face wash. Hearing that, Park started eating. Ruby explained that what she said the other day didn't mean she pitied him, and she even apologized. Park also apologized for making her feel uncomfortable during the talent show. Ruby told him that he had danced and sung really well. Park became very happy. Everything was clear between them again, and Park started talking to her nicely. The next day, Park was with his friends at school, practicing how to confess his feelings to Ruby. Kyun teased him, asking why he was rehearsing, since if Ruby liked him, even a messy confession would work. But Kyun also said he didn't think Ruby liked Park. Park said he was sure she did. He felt that Ruby looked tough outside but was soft on the inside. While Park was talking to his friends, Nish suddenly arrived. She asked why Park wasn't answering her calls and dragged him away, leaving his friends shocked. They couldn't understand who the girl was. Later, Ruby was sitting with her friends when Minji mentioned that Saturday was Rose Day, and she was sure Park would do something. As they walked to class, Ruby saw Park with another girl and felt a little jealous, although she didn't show it. When Park saw her, he rushed to talk, but Ruby didn't look pleased. In class, Kyung told Ruby's friends that the girl with Park was Nish from the architecture department, but he didn't know much more. Minji said she couldn't believe Park liked Ruby but was roaming around with another girl. Kyung replied that Nish approached Park herself. What could he do? He also asked why anyone would have a problem if Park was with a girl. Did they have a problem seeing them together? Aram replied that they didn't, but Ruby did. Kyung asked Ruby if it bothered her and added that she wasn't dating Park anyway. Ruby replied she didn't care. Kyung told the others to stop interfering. He said Nish told him that Park mattered a lot to her, so if someone likes him, why shouldn't he accept her? Kyung was trying to make Ruby jealous, but she pretended not to care. Meanwhile in class, Nish kept texting Park, which annoyed him, so he switched off his phone. During break, Park approached Ruby and asked what her plans were for Saturday. She replied she would be at home. Park asked why and said he would be free that day so they could meet. Ruby told him she would be busy at home. At that moment, Nish called Park again, and Ruby noticed. She asked if it was the same girl, and Park admitted it. Just then, Nish said she would be free Saturday and wanted to go out. Park told her he would be very busy. Ruby commented sarcastically that it looked like he needed to talk to Nish and returned to class. Park followed her, and Nish didn't like that. In class, Park asked if Ruby was really busy on Saturday. She replied she was free. Park became happy, but then Ruby said he was probably not free since he would be busy with Nish. Park was shocked and asked who told her that. Ruby replied it was obvious. Park insisted there was nothing between him and Nish. Ruby said Nish liked him, so he should date her. Park said, if that's the case, he liked Ruby, so she should date him. He asked what she thought. Ruby told him to stop talking nonsense, as the teacher was about to come, and told him to return to his class. Park said he wouldn't go until she answered when she would date him. Before the teacher could enter, Park ran off. After school, while Ruby was walking with her friends, she bumped into Nish, who said she wanted to talk. They went to a cafe. Nish directly told Ruby that since she wasn't going to date Park, she should reject him clearly. Ruby texted Park saying she didn't like him and was rejecting him. She showed the message to Nish and asked if she was satisfied now. Park replied that he'd rejected her rejection, that he would keep liking her, and that there was nothing going on between him and the other girl, so she shouldn't be under any misunderstanding. Seeing this, Nish got angry. Ruby stood up to leave. Nish accused her of not wanting to keep him and not letting him go either. She asked what Ruby really wanted, but Ruby didn't answer and walked away. That night, all of Park's friends came to his house. Since Saturday was the next day and Park planned to confess his feelings to Ruby, they all discussed and made plans for how he would do it. The next day, Ruby was at a cafe with her friends when she received a photo of Park's apartment with a message that there was a fire there. She panicked and rushed there, only to find that there was no fire. Suddenly, she saw Park standing in front of her with flowers. Park said that the building was just a little on fire and that it was not her apartment, so he apologized for lying to her. He confessed his feelings, to which Ruby agreed. Hearing this, Park became very happy and asked if she was serious. Ruby then said she was lying, as now he should understand how it feels to be lied to. As Ruby was leaving, Park said he really liked her and suggested they go on a date. Ruby told him she would message her answer at night and then left. That night, Park sat at home nervous and thinking about what answer Ruby would give. His friends were also there to know what Ruby's answer would be. Meanwhile, Kim, Min and others discussed how Ruby might reject Park. Hearing this, Park got very angry and asked how a friend could say such things. Suddenly Park received a message and happily went to check it. but it was from Kim trying to trouble him, which made Park even angrier, and he grabbed Kim by the throat. Just then another message came to Park, but he was scared to read, so he told Kyung to see what's there in the text. Kyung told him that Ruby said she would give her answer next week. This made Park furious and he started to lash out, blaming Kim's jinx words. Min and Kim also came and started hitting him. When Park checked the messages himself, he found out that Ruby said yes, meaning she would date him. This made Park extremely happy. Ruby messaged her friends telling them she would date Park, which shocked them, but they were happy for her. The next day, Park was so excited to meet Ruby that he could not sleep. At school, Park sat beside Ruby. He started calling her honey, but Ruby told him not to call her that. Park asked if he could hold her hand, but Ruby refused, so Park rested his hands on her shoulders in the bus. Kyung was in the bus too, and he could not see him acting cringe every day, so from the next day he would go to school alone. At school, Kim and Min discussed how they would pass their exams since none of them were good students and the exams were coming soon. Park sat in Ruby's class right in front of her. Ruby was playing a game on her phone and Park was watching her. Ruby told him to stop staring, and Park said that no matter how much he looked, he never got tired of it. Again, Park asked if he could hold her hand, but Ruby refused. Park said that since they were dating, why could they not hold hands? Ruby asked if holding hands was necessary just because they were dating. Park agreed but said they could still go on dates. Ruby tore up a paper where Park had written all their planned dates and said, "Who goes on dates every day, especially with exams coming next week?" Seeing this, Ruby's friends thought Park was really serious about her. Park said since he was late, they would go on dates after exams, but Ruby replied they would see about that when the time came, which upset Park a little. After school, while Park was about to go home with his friends, he told them he and Ruby were dating but nothing had changed between them, which upset him. Then he saw Ruby going home and approached her. He told Ruby that since he was not very good at studying, he planned to go to the library to prepare well for exams and asked if she wanted to join. Indirectly, he asked his friends for help to convince Ruby, and they succeeded. Later they were studying in the library, but Park was more focused on Ruby than on studying. Park pretended to be sleepy while studying, and tried to rest his head on Ruby's shoulder, but she moved away. When he looked at her again, she told him to stop looking at her and focus on studies. Park said he was actually studying her. Ruby told him to stop talking nonsense and pay attention to books. Then Ruby noticed that neither her friends nor Park's friends were in the library, because they had all gone outside so Ruby and Park could spend some time alone. Park wanted to show Ruby a webtoon but she refused to watch it. Park said that since they started dating she had become very cold-hearted. Ruby replied that she had always been like that and asked why he did not like her behavior. Park promised to make her very cute. Ruby told him not to dream because it would never happen. Park said he would treat her well and make her heart go crazy. Ruby asked if he really liked her so much and Park said yes, he liked her a lot. Ruby asked how long he would keep liking her, to which Park replied he would like her for life. Ruby told him not to answer so quickly because feelings often change. Park said he would not change and his feelings would never change, which made Ruby laugh. Then she went to buy a drink and Park followed her. Park bought the drink and after seeing Ruby walked away, and her friends asked Ruby how the library date was. Ruby told them not to talk nonsense like Park. The drink Park gave Ruby was handed over to Aram, but Aram refused to take it, asking why she should if she did not like Park. Aram said if Ruby did not like Park she should break up with him, but Ruby said it was not that she did not like Park. Aram asked what was going on, but Ruby did not answer, which made it clear she was hiding something. A week passed, exams happened, and only the kids who did not want to study came to school, so their exams were very bad. After the exam, Park came to Ruby and said their exams were over, so let's go on a date. Ruby said she was going to a karaoke room with her friends, so she could not go on a date with him. Park said that was okay and he would go with them. Ruby agreed, and her friends agreed too. They all went to the karaoke room where Kyung was also present. Everyone was singing and dancing and having a lot of fun. Kyung always kept one eye hidden behind her hair, so Minji got curious about why he did that, and she decided to find out the truth. And she did silly things to see Kyung's eyes. Kyung understood what Minji wanted to do, and when he went outside Minji followed him, which made her angry, but then he fulfilled Minji's wish by removing his hair and showing his face to Minji. She immediately got scared by what she saw on his face.